Hello and thanks for joining us on the news, reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Obiageli. Thanks for joining us. And first we bring you the headlines. President Buhari and South African Cyril Ramaphosa endorsed establishment of early warning mechanism to combat xenophobic attacks. African Development Bank to assist African countries with $200 million to fight poverty and hunger. National Assembly approved 2020 and 2022 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. And now the details. Determined to find lasting solutions to the recurring acts of violence against foreign nationals, especially Nigerians in South Africa, President Muhammadu Buhari and the South African leader Cyril Ramaphosa have endorsed the establishment of an early warning mechanism aimed at nipping the bud potential threat to such violence. Consequently, the two leaders have directed their ministers of foreign affairs to give practical expression to the initiative as preventive and monitoring platform. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
It was a very warm and highly fitting reception for President Muhammadu Buhari by his South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa as he arrived at the seat of government, otherwise referred to as the Union Building in Pretoria. Apart from a 21-gun salute, a ceremonial guard of honor was also mounted by a detachment of South African armed forces to formally welcome the Nigerian leader on the historic and remarkably significant invitational visit. The two leaders of the largest economies in Africa then retreated for high-level talks on issues of concern towards enhancing relations between the two countries. Most critical is the recurring acts of hostility against Nigerians and other foreign nationals in South Africa.
Mr. President, we have condemned in the strongest terms attacks against Nigerians and other African nationals living in South Africa, the looting of their shops and businesses and burning of their properties. We call for the strengthening and implementation of all the necessary measures to prevent the reoccurrence of such action which threatens to undermine not only our strong bilateral relations but also what we stand for in the context of our vision for a strong and prosperous Africa we want.
At a joint media briefing shortly after, both leaders promised to work more closely towards finding lasting solutions.
What has happened does not represent the values of the peoples of Nigeria, the values of the peoples of South Africa. And as leaders, both President Buhari and I will not tolerate them. And to make sure that we take steps moving forward, that we bring an end to these, we've agreed that early warning mechanisms will be set up so that once we see that there's restiveness in both our people's sort of side, we will be able to inform one another, to find ways and active ways of ensuring that we do not have recurrences.
It's a question of competition at very low levels. It means that our respective police forces and security agencies must be very alert. They must infiltrate the communities, know their thinking, and make sure they don't allow violence to escalate.
Some members of the Nigerian delegation to South Africa described the high-level engagement as appropriate, timely, and reassuring.
Mr. President is a man of very high integrity, and he doesn't compromise, his integrity, and we have displayed it, by insisting that those who were wrongly attacked, those who were property were, illegally bound, that the South Africa should address it. And so he has acted as usual as the father of our great nation, Nigeria.
The type of confusion that is existing among the people is not tolerable, it's not acceptable. But I think with the dialogue between the two heads of governments, I think that problem, we are on the way on solving that problem.
I saw a lot of passion in all of them, in their resolve, first commitment, and also their desire to protect their people, and also not beyond, looking even beyond their country as leaders in Africa. Things that we thought were going to be issues that were going to be irreconcilable, within a short time, maturity in leadership, it was diplomatically sorted out. And so we are now looking forward to implementation.
President Buhari's engagements in South Africa continue. From Pretoria, South Africa, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, Nigeria and South Africa have resolved to deepen existing strategic relations by working together towards enhancing political, economic and social cooperation in the interest of the people. In a joint communique after the inaugural session of the elevated Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission, the countries also promised to jointly pursue sustainable peace and economic development on the continent in the context of AU Agenda 2063 and the Continental Free Trade Area Agreements. State House correspondent Adam Sambo again reports.
The Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission has been in existence for nearly 20 years. For the first time, however, it has been elevated to the level of heads of state in a renewed determination by the two countries to, amongst others, institutionalize their relations, significantly increase and diversify trade, and make conditions conducive for greater investment flows. Speaking at the opening of the inaugural session, President Muhammadu Buhari spoke of the need for the two countries to seek opportunities towards expanding their cooperation in critical economic sectors for the benefit of their peoples.
We are pleased to inform you that our government has made doing business in Nigeria easier through the Ease of Doing Business initiative to open up more opportunities for investors in Nigeria. We call on the government of South Africa to also take steps to ease the doing of business in the country and open up its market space for Nigerian businessmen and women. We are determined on our part to sustain the renewed vigor of the strategic partnership between Nigeria and South Africa, anchored on regular consultation, collaboration, and cooperation.
During the meeting, which continued behind closed doors, progress report was presented on the 32 agreements and memoranda of understanding signed between the two countries over the years. These are in the areas of trade and industry, science and technology, defense, agriculture, energy, transport and tourism. The two leaders committed themselves to ensuring that those in force are fully implemented and the others yet to be in force be revived immediately.
We are in the process of further deepening our reforms so that we can make it a lot easier for our economies to be open to businesses. We want to welcome more and more Nigerian businesses to operate in our space. We want, South Africa has a number of large corporations that operate in the Nigerian market. In the South African market, many of them are small and medium enterprises. We want to address this imbalance so that we have more and more slightly larger Nigerian companies coming to operate here. And the various incentives that we have as a government will obviously also be available to them.
We agreed on the need for us to strengthen even further our cooperation in areas such as peace building, good governance, and sustainable development in Africa in order to deliver the Africa we want. We have also committed to reinforcing our leadership role for peace, security, and development in Africa.
President Ramaphosa in particular used the opportunity to once again express his country's appreciation to Nigeria for the sacrifices made towards freeing South Africa from the shackles of colonialism and imperialism. From Pretoria, South Africa, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Back home, Nigeria and 9 African countries are to benefit from $200 million African Development Bank project on food security. The fund is set aside to address issues associated with hunger, malnutrition, and poverty in Africa. Musa Babaliu tells us more.
Africa is experiencing rapid population growth in recent times as observed by the United Nations Population Fund. The continent is currently housing about 1.61 billion people, growing at 3% annually.
300 million people are hungry and 250 million are malnourished. This is a real serious thing and we have a lot of work to do.
This therefore brought about the Agriculture Fast Track Fund, designed by the bank to aid food production and eradicate hunger on the continent. 60 agricultural programs for the 10 African countries are currently assessing $50 million.
So through this AFT program, we actually see a potential for us to upscale and cultivate much more land and do much more irrigation farming up north.
The agricultural value chain is a huge multi-billion-dollar investment area, and if Africa must develop, we have to go back to the grassroots.
Denmark, Sweden and United States of America are also providing financial support to the project. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And from agriculture, we turn to science and technology. Nigeria is set to strengthen her ties with the Republic of Poland, especially in the development of science and technology and innovation. Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Bonaya Onu, who received the Polish ambassador to Nigeria on a courtesy visit, says Nigeria has very robust and intelligent human resources and wants to use this advantage in the nation's quest to transit from the commodity-based economy to knowledge and innovation-driven one.
Add a lot of value to the enormous natural resources in the country, so that even in the area of fossil fuels, we also have coal, as we do have in Poland. We can add a lot of the value chain. Take crude oil, we need to make sure that it's not just the upstream that is developed.
In another development, the minister also inaugurated an interministerial committee on renewable energy technology tasked with a purpose-driven research to diversify power generation and mitigate climate change in the country. Ministries involved in the renewable energy and climate change mitigation projects include data science and technology, environment, power, works and housing, water resources, industry, trade and investment, as well as Nigeria Content and Development Monitoring Board. And from National Assembly, the House of Representatives has approved the National Assembly Joint Committee report on medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper for 2020 to 2022. Among the recommendations of the Joint Committee on Finance and Appropriations considered by the House at the Committee on Supply are daily oil production outputs of 2.18 million barrels per day, $57 per barrel as crude oil benchmark, and the exchange rates of 305 naira to the dollar. The lawmakers in the report recommend the Nigeria Customs Service for exceeding the targeted revenue for 2019, despite the global economic challenges and closure of the Nigerian borders. In the meantime, the House, following a motion on a matter of urgent public importance, has resolved that the National Assembly should take active part in marking the independence anniversary of Nigeria in view of the fact that agitations for self-government from colonial governments began from Parliament in 1953. Details of these and more in our subsequent bulletin. In the meantime, President Muhammad Buhari will on Tuesday, October 8, 2019, present the 2020 Appropriation Bill at a joint session of the National Assembly. This follows the approval of a presidential communication to that effect by the House of Representatives. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila read the letter of the President's request at Thursday's plenary, after which the House voted its approval. The House had earlier approved the medium-term expenditure framework and Fiscal Strategy paper for 2020 to 2023, during which the House approved an increase in federal government expenditure from 10.002 trillion naira to 10.729 trillion naira. Moving on, Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Raji Fashola says unless and until those behind the application of substandard materials that resulted in building collapse are investigated and prosecuted, innocent lives will continue to perish in such disaster. The minister said this when he received in his office the National Building Code Advisory Committee. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports.
Nigeria is said to have recorded more than 60 incidences of building collapses in the last 4 years, a trend that is attributed to non-adherence to standard practice. Apart from deaths of innocent lives, property worth billions of naira are also destroyed. These prompted the federal government to find lasting solutions, one of which is the inauguration of the National Building Code Advisory Committee, to initiate strategic plans and monitor building-related activities across the country. Now the Minister of Works and Housing, Raji Fashola, wants the committee to step down its activities to primary, post-primary and tertiary institutions of learning so that the ideas of standardization in building can be inculcated.
If it becomes necessary because of changes in building technology to review the code 4 times in a year, so shall it be.
Chairman of the committee, Mohammed Jumo, sees the assignment as a mission to right the wrongs in the building sector and pledge the members' commitment to the task.
We commenced relating with some of this group, and within the last 8 to 6 months, we have interacted effectively.
The National Building Code of Nigeria is reviewed in every 3 years. In Abuja, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. To take service, we shall be back with more reports. Stay tuned.
And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. It's in your mind, Abi. The person with them go help us. Toro Shangalo, Ogalekuva, Mr. Sabi. And you know if we carry last for this one.
A spear into the top corner.
We sabi say Peking go crawl before in waka. So don't look. No dolly, no. So go for it. Go for football. Go for Syria on the Liga Marchings live. Go for GoTV Max.
Many thanks for staying with us. 14 years after the launch of the National Environmental Sanitation Policy, the Federal Ministry of Environment is formulating a new working guideline to tackle Nigeria's environmental challenges. What are the gaps expected to be filled by this policy review? Onyenge Fineface reports.
The United States is said to have an integrated waste management system with 530 treatment plants, 1,000 waste recycling plants, 1,293 incinerators, and over 300 dump sites. Closer home now to South Africa, the country is said to have a waste management that generates $12 billion per annum. In Nigeria, however, increasing population is said to be resulting in increased waste generation, indiscriminate dumping, and continued discharge of domestic and industrial effluents into water bodies.
National Environmental Sanitation Policy Guidelines were developed by Federal Executive Council and launched in 2005. It has become and challenges.
It's quick to leverage on this initiative in dealing with these sanitation needs.
This policy on ground, the state government is even now in principle trying to reintroduce what we usually had before during the military regime, that monthly sanitation exercise.
Like Borno State, the policy being reviewed after its launch in 2005 Nigeria in Abuja.
Role of it must first purge itself of corruption. These were the words of the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Malam Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, at the inauguration of the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Units of NTA by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Kelvin Ewonware has the details.
Much of ICPC's work is preventing corruption in the public sector, a sector seen by many as vulnerable to corrupt practices, either in procurement process and financial management, among other functions. With a mandate of the Federal Executive Council to step up its preventive mechanism through the establishment of anti-corruption and transparency units in MDAs, the ICPC is intensifying its drive. The Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, is the latest organization to have an anti-corruption and transparency unit. For the Director General of the NTA, Malam Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, the assignment is a national one for members of the committee because, as an integral part of the federal government, the NTA must show how the media can lead the way in the fight against corruption.
The media has a role to make sure that the society develops, there's growth and development in the society. The fight against corruption is just only one aspect of it. It's just an aspect, but the media is involved in every facet of our national life.
Umar Abubakar Dembo, Director of Marketing, is the chairman of NTA's Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit. He is confident that the committee will deliver.
Just like what we were told, this is a national assignment and we're taking it as a national assignment because we all know the president has kept on saying that corruption kills this country. So we should make sure that it did not kill NTA.
Other government agencies are expected to key into this initiative. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
And turning now to Giaba stakeholders meeting in Dakar for the West African sub-region to be free from the activities of criminals who engage in financial crimes. Member countries of ECOWAS must collaborate with other anti-money laundering world bodies to fight against such acts. This was part of the solutions preferred by participants at the opening of a two-day stakeholders meeting of the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, Giaba, in Dakar, the capital of Senegal. Dele Atumbi reports.
Participants from the 15 ECOWAS states and 2 other states which adopted GIABA as their Financial Action Task Force were blunt in identifying the negative effects of money laundering and terrorist financing in the sub-region. They blamed lack of quality education, near to non-access to quality health care, hunger in some countries, poor economy and lack of infrastructure facilities on financial crimes in the sub-region. The stakeholders were of the opinion that concerted efforts must be taken to ensure anti-money laundering and terrorist financing safety in West Africa. To confront the emerging challenges, stakeholders canvassed strategy plans to curtail the activities of criminals threatening world economy and security. They maintained that member countries must also work together through financial intelligence sharing to be able to track funds being laundered within and outside the sub-region. Participants were unanimous in describing money laundering and terrorist financing as activities against the people and the sub-region. Member states of GIABA were urged to strengthen their financial intelligence units to be able to curtail the activities of financial criminals and strengthen efforts to recover laundered funds. The Director General of GIABA, Kimilabalu Abba, commended the member states for their efforts in compiling their mutual evaluation reports in line with the standard of the Financial Action Task Force, FATF. He solicited improved funding for GIABA to carry out its mandate. GIABA also identified Nigeria as one of the leading member states that has compiled its mutual evaluation reports. From Dakar, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
And from the judiciary comes the report that the Supreme Court has dismissed the notice of appeal filed by Ambrose Owuru of the Hope Democratic Party, challenging the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari at the recent presidential election. The 5-man panel of justices, led by Justice Mary Odili, ruled that the suit was an abuse of court process. Olabode Arewa tells us more.
The Supreme Court based its judgment on the preliminary objections of Wole Olanipekun, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, counsel to President Muhammadu Buhari, and Ustaz Usman, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, counsel to INEC. They observed that Ambrose Owuru's counsel had filed 2 separate notices of appeal on the Presidential Election Petition Court judgment of 22nd of August 2019, which dismissed Owuru's petition against the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari. Counsel to Ambrose Owuru, Isaac Udoka, told the Apex Court that what was placed before the court were not 2 notices of appeal, but a single appeal and an addendum, which raised 18 issues for determination. The Apex Court found it curious that Ambrose Owuru's counsel failed to observe Section 4 of the Supreme Court rules on the procedures of filing appeals, and subsequently dismissed Owuru's appeal for being frivolous.
The judgment of the lower court, that is the petition tribunal at the Court of Appeal, has been affirmed.
That's what the court said, and we thank Almighty God. The Supreme Court, that last court, has struck it out.
The Apex Court took into cognizance a recent Court of Appeal judgment on the internal disputes within the Hope Democratic Party. No costs were awarded to the respondents by the Apex Courts. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated with the former governor of Yobe State, Senator Bukar Alba Ibrahim, on his 70th birthday, commending him for living a life of service to humanity and encouraging budding leaders in the state. In a statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President noted that the former governor dedicated most of his life to public service, working for the state and nation for many years, and speaking for the underprivileged as a lawmaker and inspiring younger people to take up the mantle of leadership. He wished him many more years of service and commitment to the nation. And that's it on this package of the news. Many thanks for your time. I'm Obiageli Ugweke.